I'm Terry Murphy with Realty Times Women in Business, Women in Real Estate, and my favorite segment, In the Men's Room with Murph. And I have a great men's room guest today, and he's a longtime friend, Bob Burg. You may have heard of him. He's only written like 11 books. He's got one book that's in 950,000 sales. It's been #1. It's a Go-Giver series. He's a speaker, he's a leader, he speaks on leadership and sales, and has for major companies, including a former US president. Besides that, he's been one of my BFFs forever. Welcome, Bob Burg.
Terry Murphster Murphy. So great being with you. I love getting to talk with you.
This is really a treat because, you know, you're way over there in Florida and I'm way over here in Memphis, and the magic of technology puts us together. And the gift here is that I get to share with the people that are watching the magnificent message of the Go-Giver. You know, we know a lot of New York Times bestsellers, and we know a lot of books. You've written 11, we've written about 26. And here's the thing, Go-Giver has such a resonance. And I think it's because of the premise. Now, you wrote the Go-Giver series with, his name is John David Mann, you say is a terrific storyteller, because of an event in your own life. Would you tell us how you got started on the Go-Giver?
Well, really about almost 40 years ago, I'd been in sales for a couple of years, had been doing relatively well, but I had hit a slump. And I was at the time working for a company, selling for a company. It was a high-end, high-price product. And I hit this slump, and I remember coming back one day from a non-selling appointment. Now, it was not supposed to be a non-selling appointment. It was supposed to be a selling appointment. But my own inadequacy in terms of the process kept a person who would have benefited greatly from benefiting from it. And of course, I didn't have the sale. So it was really a lose-lose. Instead of a win-win. So I was back at the office, and I'm in the, I think it was the salesperson's lounge or so, or whatever lounge it was back at the time. Remember, almost 40 years ago, Murph. I just don't have that memory for that. But I must have been looking pretty discouraged or disgusted at myself. And one of the people came over. He was a guy he was not in the sales department. He was a much older guy. I think he was in the engineering department, and he soon retired. One of these people who he didn't say a lot, but whenever he did say something, it was always profound. And he said to me, Burg, and I think he saw me sort of as Joe in the Go-Giver, right? The guy who, you know, had a lot of hustle and had a lot of drive and ambition and potential, but something was holding him back. And in my case, it was me holding me back. And he said, Burg, can I give you some advice? And I said, yeah, please do. And he said, if you want to make a lot of money in sales, he said, don't have making money as your target. Your target, he said, is serving others. Now, when you hit the target, you'll get a reward, and that reward will come in the form of money. And you can do with that money whatever you choose. But never forget, the money is simply the reward for hitting the target. It's not the target itself. Your target is serving others. And Murph, that was my epiphany. That's when it hit me that great salesmanship was not about the salesperson. It was not even about the product or service, as important as the product or service is. Great salesmanship is about the other person. It's about that person whose life you want to touch with your product, service, and the other value that you bring to the table. It's about how you make a difference in the life of another human being. Once we understand that's what sales is, now we approach it from a totally different viewpoint.
That is really an excellent overview. And, you know, just in case you don't know, we've got like a lot of these books, but this was your first, and this was a simple way to get referrals. And so you have been in the business a long time, and the Go-Giver series now has 8 different books. We'll get into that in a second.
You're in endless referrals. Remember, you're the person I called the $50 million woman, because that's how much, or was it $10 million or $50 million? It was some million, but it was something. It was back when millions of dollars was a lot of money.
Yeah, it is when you were nowhere in Illinois. But you know, the thing is that I resonated with the simplicity and the authenticity of your message, which is part of the thread that goes through the Go-Giver. And, you know, one of the things that we talk about is this latest book, the way you've written it is it has 5 laws of success. Now, you and I both know all the major people on success. This message is so resonant. I mean, it's been translated into 28 languages. And I think to really help people connect with each one, I want to take them one at a time. So the first one is the law of value. Why don't you tell us about the law of value?
Well, the law of value says your true worth is determined by how much more you give in value than you take in payment. Now, when you first hear that, it sounds counterintuitive. Give more in value than you take in payment? That's a recipe for bankruptcy, isn't it? So we have to understand the difference between price and value. Price is a dollar figure. It's a dollar amount. It's finite. It is what it is. Value, on the other hand, is the relative worth or desirability of a thing, of something, to the end user or beholder. In other words, what is it about this thing, this product, service, concept, idea, that brings with it so much worth or value to another person that they will willingly exchange their money for it and be ecstatic that they did, while you make a very healthy profit. If you take just a very basic example of an accountant who you hire to do your taxes, she charges you, we'll name a round figure, $500. That's her fee, or literally her price, $500. But what value does she give you in exchange for that? Well, through her years of hard work and dedication, from her getting to know you and your company, what you're looking to accomplish, she's able to save you $5,000 in taxes. She saves you tons of hours, right, in time. And she provides you with the security and the peace of mind of knowing it was done correctly. So we see here first that, again, while price is finite, value can be both concrete in terms of that $5,000 savings, but it can also be conceptual in terms of the peace of mind, which probably holds more worth or value than the money saved. So she gave you well over $5,000 in value in exchange for a $500 payment or price. She gave you more in value than she took in payment, so you feel great about it. And she made a very healthy profit as well, because in her opinion, it was worth it to her to lease out her time, wisdom, and knowledge for $500. In fact, the law of value ends up with 2 profits: the buyer profits and the seller profits, because each of them come away much better off afterwards than they were before.
Well, that's a great way to look at value. And we've got 4 more to go, so stick with us. I'm Terry Murphy with Bob Burg on Women in Business, Women in Real Estate, and In the Men's Room with Murph.